TV shows have been a part of our lives for the past century. But why? And more importantly, how can the new age content creators learn from these successful TV shows? Because at the end of the day, content is the same, it's just moved medium from TV to places like YouTube and Twitch. Albeit, some TV shows were better than others, and some TV shows hook you in only to break you after years of investing time and emotion into them because the only thing people care about is money. But this isn't to rant about all the bad TV shows, rather look at all the successful ones, ask ourselves why they work, and more importantly, how you can replicate them. And it all starts with an idea. The idea of a TV show is everything. If a show has a cool premise, then it will most likely be successful. A teacher turned drug dealer is a sick idea, and the world's most dangerous escape room is also a sick idea. And we see both doing impeccably well. But your idea doesn't even need to be groundbreaking. It just has to be unique. A great example of this is The Office, where it's an ordinary premise where people are just in an office, but the execution of the characters and of the storyline is its unique selling point. Just like MKBHD, we've all seen a phone review before, but his video quality and production value plus consistency are a huge unique selling point. So you can take a very widely accepted idea, but give it a twist, make it your own, and be successful. Or if you're Marcus Brownlee, you can buy a robot arm for your phone reviews. But even if you have a great idea, you wouldn't be able to execute it properly without having good characters. A great TV show is nothing without the right characters and the right execution. And we find two main criteria for all the characters that we love. They have a great character arc, and they have audience buy-in. All of our characters follow the hero's journey developed by Joseph Campbell. And they start off at the start of the story, and then we find them going on a journey, taking you along with them. If you think of any superhero movie, yes, I'm gonna mention movies too. There's a structure to them, traveling from their easy life into the unknown to battle a villain, and in the process, they learn something about themselves and about the world. This is where the transformation takes place, and this is where the audience can get emotionally invested. And this is how we find a lot of people in love with fictional characters. It's all wrapped up in the emotion. But you would never get that level of connection without having audience buy-in, which just basically means you can have the best character arc to ever exist, but if you don't answer the crucial question of why would people care, you won't get anyone to actually invest emotions in this character. We see this with fictional relationships all the time. A great example of that is Friends, Ross and Rachel, where people till today discuss whether they were on a break or not. They definitely were on a break. But you find people getting invested into this conversation of two completely fictional characters. But we see the same with new age content creators as well. People like PewDiePie, through the highs and the lows, you see people stand by PewDiePie because there is a connection that's growing with this character who is equally fictional to a lot of people. Because none of us have actually met him, but we are invested in his story. We're invested in his character arc. But if you're a faceless channel or just an explainer channel, your characters could be your tiny ideas within the big idea. Stay with me. If you look at this explainer channel called, and I'll try not to butcher the name, Kurzgesagt. They don't have any characters that people can connect to, but they have ideas. And as long as your idea has audience buy-in and follows a character arc with transformation, people will become emotionally invested in it and will come back to watch more, to go on more and more journeys with your characters. And speaking of the journey, it's time to embark on our favorite journey. And if you've been here on the channel before, you know I love the 3-act story structure and I rave about it all the time. And this is one more time where it's relevant, because every single TV show, movie, piece of content, piece of successful content follows this 3-step story arc. The basic structure is that it has a hook and setup, and tension rises to a climax, then you find a resolution and a conclusion. People are emotionally invested as the tension rises, as the question of will our hero accomplish their mission. But one of the best creators that implements the story structure is Eric, and his latest video is a great example of that. In his latest video, he climbs a building. Yes, climbs a building. And from the thumbnail, you are dying to know whether he will fall off a building or will he actually climb that building. And if so, how? There are so many questions that you have. And as you get closer to the moment where he climbs the building, tension is rising and rising. And the question that you need to be answered is he going to climb that building? The climax is when he does climb the building, and the resolution is when he finally succeeds in climbing the building. He takes his audience on a journey, there's tension rising, there is one question that we need to answer, and he answers it brilliantly. But what happens when he doesn't answer questions brilliantly? There's a lot of content out there that is great, but ends horrifically. And yes, I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones. 8 seasons for that crap. What were you thinking? But someone who was thinking and can explain why I have so much disdain for Game of Thrones is Daniel Kahneman. In 1993, the psychologist made an experiment where he got people and asked them to place their hands in water, which was at 14 degrees Celsius, and the experiment lasted for 60 seconds. In another trial, he did the exact same thing where he got people to put their hands in 14 degrees Celsius water for 60 seconds. But then towards the end, he started raising the temperature slightly to 15 degrees C and added 30 seconds. The surprising thing is when asked people which of the two experiments they want to repeat, they said it was the second one, while the second one involves more pain. And his conclusion was that people put a lot of weight onto how something ends. Even though they suffered for more, towards the end, they suffered less. And looking back at Game of Thrones, people only remember the devastating last season. However, the first 5 were iconic, but you never find people mentioning those. They only mention the sloppy writing and poor production value of the last 3. And when things end incredibly well, the 5th and hardest thing to do for your content piece, and it's probably the reason most TV shows are successful nowadays, is rewatchability. Breaking Bad debuted in 2008. The Office US debuted in 2005, but they're still relevant today. This is what happens when you get all 4 of the previous elements right. You make a show where it takes people on a journey, gets them emotionally invested, so people want to go back and revisit that story. You want to get invested in Jim and Pam again. You want to see Walter White and his struggles again, because the idea was sick, it was executed well by the characters, there was a transformation, and it ended incredibly well. So imagine if you don't create one piece of content, rather a library of content that people can watch, revisit, and enjoy just the same, where people can feel like they're being taken on a journey over and over again. That's how you create the perfect piece of content. Unless, of course, you butcher a TV series to go make a Star Wars franchise. If you can't tell, I'm not really over Game of Thrones, but if you don't want to butcher your content for your audience, I'd recommend watching this video to see how the best in the business do it. I'll see you guys in the next one.